Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with great recordings you've never heard of. And this is actually like kind of major, but as usual, there was a period, let's put it this way. There was a period in the 90s and the early 2000s as the major labels were collapsing and the independent labels had come into their full flower and everybody was recording everything and tossing it out there for us to somehow find. It's as if we had like a dream catcher and occasionally something would stick. And they were hoping, and they made some really major recordings that nobody paid much attention to, one of which was this one on Sony. Riccardo Muti had a passing relationship with Sony, with the orchestra at La Scala, you may recall. He did a lot of opera recordings, but he also did a series of interesting Italian orchestral music, which was all boxed up, by the way, and in a budget box, which I talked about on this channel. But, it just was scattered to the wind. It's the only way I could describe it. And some of this music was wonderful. And back in the day, Muti's a major guy. La Scala's a great orchestra. One of the things I always say about unusual repertoire is the better you can play it, the better the case you can make for it, the better off you are. This makes about as wonderful a case for it as you will ever find. You get on this particular disc Alfredo Casella's Paganiniana, based on music by Paganini, which is delicious, and three little works by Giuseppe Martucci, who was really a very talented and interesting composer in a well, not neo, but he was sort of contemporaneously Brahmsian kind of way. His years were 1856 to 1909. And last, but certainly not least, we get Busoni, his Turandot suite, which is just wonderful. Busoni didn't write a lot of orchestral music, and his sense of orchestral color was kind of limited. He was an odd guy. He really was. He was sort of like Liszt, someone whose grasp or his reach exceeded his grasp. You know what I mean? But he was always searching for bigger and better and more like fabulous things, but his actual ability to realize them in sound, well, sometimes kind of limited. He was still a major figure, don't get me wrong. His piano concerto is fabulous, and the Turandot suite is like his other big orchestral work. Maybe a couple other pieces as well, but you've got the Frauengemach in Turandot. The Turandot's Frauengemach, which is the fourth movement here. It's just hilariously, wonderfully funny because it contains the tune Greensleeves, which somehow Busoni thought may have been Chinese or something like that. I don't know, but it's got Greensleeves in the middle of it. And we've talked about it before because it's funny and it's great to play for your friends and say, so, who wrote this? And they'll scratch their heads and say, oh, Vaughan Williams or something like that, or it's some English composer or something. And, oh, it's Greensleeves. And they'll say, no, it's Busoni. It's actually Busoni. So anyway, what we have here is the orchestra of La Scala, which is, as I said, fabulous, and Riccardo Muti, who's absolutely terrific, and it's well recorded, and it's on Sony. And there were some other things in this series. Remember, he did a Nino Rota disc of like film scores and things that was really, really good, and a few other things as well. It was a very limited, select program because being a major label, and they weren't going to really make a major investment in unusual Italian orchestral music from the 20th century. And even Muti, for all of his advocacy of the operas, unusual Italian operas, these things had to be, special events, few and far between. And being special, you would think that they would want to promote them so that people could buy them and so that we could hear them and that everybody could love them and that we could enjoy them. And, well, none of that happened. So I was sitting around looking through my stuff here, and this popped out at me. And so I thought I'd tell you about it. You can probably still find it, or you can find the Italian music box that Muti did with La Scala, which was really worth having. It's I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 discs. I don't remember how many. It's sitting over there with all the other box sets. But really a lovely, lovely series of beautiful music that deserves a hearing. He also did Strauss's Aus Italien. That was a wonderful disc. Remember that one too? There's just a bunch of things that he did with La Scala on Sony. And they might as well have never have existed, which I think is just a terrible, terrible shame. I mean, the music deserves better. We deserve better. Muti deserves better. The orchestra deserves better. It's incredible, isn't it? How much time and effort and expense went into producing recordings that are eminently enjoyable. I mean, this music is you're going to fall in love with it the minute you hear it. It's that enjoyable. But nobody gives it time of day. So we're giving it time of day, and maybe you will too. That would be terrific. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.